Hello everyone, Zane here and welcome to another Final Fantasy XIV video. Today I want to talk about the crafting system in Final Fantasy XIV. Unlike most games where you basically get the materials and the game automatically makes it for you, in Final Fantasy XIV it's a mini game that you guys have to do with rotations in order to make your items. So we're going to be going over the basics, some intermediate things, and also some advanced things about the crafting system, and hopefully you guys learned something here. If there's anything you are confused about, please ask in the comment section down below. There is no such thing as a stupid question. So let's go over the basics of crafters. So you have three main stats. Your craftsmanship, which affects the progress or the ability to make the item. Control, which increases the quality of the item to give you better stats. And CP, meaning crafter points, which is the lifeblood of crafting, because without it, you can't use some abilities that come with your toolkit. As for gear, we have a main and offhand tool. Sometimes you need a main hand for the item, sometimes you need the offhand for the item. You have the headpiece, the body piece, the hands, the legs, the feet. You have the earrings, a bracelet, the neck piece, and two rings. We used to have belts, but that was removed. I think back in Endwalker, I think it was. Okay, so this is the basic gear and stats you're going to be using. The stats on the gear will have craftsmanship, control, or CP. That's going to be for disciples of hand or crafters. You can see in the green underneath the item level that these are made for crafters only. So there's 8 crafters in total in Final Fantasy XIV. You have carpenter, blacksmith, armorer, goldsmith, leatherworker, weaver, alchemist, and culinarian. There will never be any more than 8 crafter jobs. Carpenter can be unlocked in Gridania. Blacksmith and armorer are going to be in Limsa Lominsa. Goldsmith is going to be in Ul'dah. Leatherworker is in Gridania. Weaver is in Ul'dah. Alchemist is in Ul'dah. And culinarian is in Limsa Lominsa. You have to be at least level 10 in the job that you started the game out with to unlock Disciples of Hand. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is materials. So each crafter recipe requires certain materials that you need to buy or gather in the open world. You also are going to be needing elemental shards, crystals, and clusters. There's 6 elements: wind, ice, water, lightning, earth, and fire. You're going to be needing a certain amount of these in order to make the item. So you'll be starting with shards, and then later down the road, you'll be needing crystals. For the harder recipes, you're going to be needing clusters. Okay, so these are the basic materials that you'll be needing to craft your items. Next, let's talk about materia. So materia is from Final Fantasy VII, which they brought into Final Fantasy XIV, except materia in this game works a little bit different. So you have grade 1 materia all the way up to grade 10. Hopefully in Dawn Trail we'll get grade 11 and grade 12. Materia is basically a way to get extra stats on your gear. This is what is called melding. The red slots is what is called overmelding, which you learn that as you level up. So the blue circles are the ones that have guaranteed slots in your gear, and the red ones will have the ones that you have to overmeld, or the forbidden melds. So accessories and offhand and main hand tools will have 1 guaranteed and the rest are forbidden, while the other ones will have 2 guaranteed slots and 3 are forbidden. Now you only can do the highest grade materia in the guaranteed and the first overmeld slots. Everything else must be 9 and below. In case of Dawn Trail, it would be 11 and 12. 12 can be overmelded in the guaranteed and the first overmeld, and grade 11 can be in all of the slots. And the higher that you go, the lower the chances of you melding the materia into the gear. So in this case, doing grade 9 will give you a 5% chance of melding into the 5th slot. I do have a video on how to unlock melding and overmelding, so I'll make sure to link that down below. Next is going to be spirit bonding. You have a gauge from 1 to 100. As you craft relatively to the level of the gear that you're using, you'll gain spirit bond rate. Once it hits 100%, you'll be able to extract a random piece of materia from your gear, which is relative to the level of your gear. So in this case, you will get a grade 9 or grade 10 crafting materia. Okay, So if you see this grill right here, if they are green, they are not ready for spirit bonding. If they are white, then you can already spirit bond your gear there. So pay attention to this item grid at your bottom right of your screen. We'll let you know when it is ready. They'll also give you a sound effect when you hit 100%. Next, let's talk about the crafter logs. So under the main menu, under logs, you see the crafter log right here. Click on it, it shows you everything that you have unlocked. Here you have the housing, collectables, custom deliveries, travel quests, class quests, side quests, others, which is basically dyes. And then here you have the expert recipes, which is the endgame stuff. So as you level up, more and more recipes will become available. If these items here are grayed out, that means your level is too low for you to make them. If you're making something higher than your level, the recipe becomes harder to make. If it's something that you're making below your level, the easier it is to make. There used to be an ability called ingenuity, which made doing this much easier, but that has been taken out of the game, but is still in the code of the game. So that's why when you're making something higher, it's more difficult, but if you're making something lower, it's easier. So I just want to point that out. This stuff here will be unlocked as you get further into the other expansions, and these here are the master recipes, which you need specific books in order to gain access to these, which is basically hard content at the end when you're basically done getting to the level cap of these expansions. So there's basically 2 books per expansion. Well, 3 in A Realm Reborn's case, because you have one that uses the other master recipes, but otherwise there's always 2 books per expansion. So when you go into the menu and look for a recipe you want to make, on the right here, you'll have difficulty, quality, max, which is basically for high quality materials, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and durability. Each recipe will have its own durability. Basically what that means is if you don't make the item before that hits 0, the item will break and you will lose all the materials, crystals, clusters, and or shards that are tied to the recipe. So ultimately you want to make sure that you make the item before the durability hits 0. So that's the basics of the menus here when you go into the crafter log. So down here you have synthesis, quick synthesis, where basically the game makes the item for you, which you unlock as you further level up. And then you have trial synthesis, where you basically can practice rotations and stuff like that without losing materials. The only thing you cannot do is use high quality materials when training, which I really wish they would do, because it would make things a whole lot easier when it comes to making rotations and the like. Now let's go into the crafter UI, because this is what you're going to be looking at when you're doing it. This here will toggle this window to close. Basically this is where all your buffs will go up. You have calculations down here, which basically will let you know what ability does what for progress and quality, so you guys can map out ahead of time. You also can favorite this as well to make it less cluttered. Over here you have durability, conditions, you have your quality, your progress bar, high quality rate, and then quit. If you quit before doing any actions, you'll be able to save your materials. If you quit after doing an action, you will lose all materials. So be very wary of that. So when you do an ability, you usually will lose 10 stacks of durability. Or a square in this case. Once all of the durability is lost and your item is not completed, or the progress bar, you will break the item and then you will lose everything. So doing this as an example. And you'll get that sound and you have failed the craft. And like I said, you will lose everything. There is an ability that's not in the game anymore. It's called, I think it was Reclaim, where basically there's a chance, a small chance, that your items will be reused and put back into your inventory. If that happens, thank your lucky stars that happened. So if you're doing your progress, or I mean your quality, the same things apply. Durability will be lost. And if you hit 0 while doing your quality, you will also lose and break the item. So be very wary and pay attention to your durability. Okay, Next, we're going to go over the actions and traits of each ability that crafters have at their disposal as of Endwalker. So in order to access your actions and traits, it's going to be under the character menu in the main menu itself. So here you have access to level 1 all the way to 90. These here are going to be specialist actions, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And you'll have your traits. You only have about 7 for right now. You also can go in general, you got your teleport, sprint, return. You have your desynthesis, stuff like that. You also can add to your hotbar as a crafter. Alright, so at the beginning, you only will have basic synthesis. This is going to increase your progress at 120 efficiency with the trait basic synthesis mastery at level 31. Otherwise, it's going to be efficiency of 100. Then you have your success rates, which is 100%. These used to be lower than 100% because we had an ability that would increase the success rate to 100, which was called Steady Hand. Eventually, hopefully they bring it back in the future. So this is going to be your progress abilities. So any synthesis ability is for progress. Touch abilities is going to be for quality. So this is going to increase your quality at an efficiency of 100% at 100% success rate. These abilities here will cost you 18 CP. Right next to the ability, it'll tell you. Basic synthesis has no CP. So if you run out of CP, you won't be able to do stuff like this. Now, Master's Mend at level 7 will give you the ability to restore your durability by 30 points. So if you're low on durability, Master's Mend is the perfect skill to use to get some back so you can continue to make the item. And this is going to have a hefty cost of 88 CP. At level 9, you get what is called Hasty Touch. This requires 0 CP, but the success rate is going to be 60%. So there's a 40% chance that this will fail. If you fail an action, you will lose durability and nothing will increase. So this is basically for those of you who run out of CP and have nothing left to use. Hasty Touch is what you will use. Rapid Synthesis is the opposite of Hasty Touch and works for progress, but it has a 50% chance of succeeding with a 500% chance or a 500 efficiency. Again, this is going to be a last resort if you have no CP for other abilities and basic synthesis is not enough. So basically it's a Hail Mary ability. These two here is often never used in normal crafting, but is used in what is called expert recipes, which is something very, very difficult at endgame. At level 13, you'll get an ability called Observe. It basically does nothing, literally. The only thing that it will do is get rid of certain conditions, or it will basically allow the conditions to change for the next step, but this will also have a combo ability later down the road. But right now, it costs 7 CP, and it basically will help you get rid of certain conditions. Tricks of the Trade is an ability that works only on good or excellent condition. Conditions are normal, good, excellent, and poor. Poor will always follow excellent condition. So Tricks of the Trade will restore 20 CP with 0 cost to CP usage when those conditions are met. This is perfect when you need extra CP for extra moves. Waste Not at level 15 is an ability that reduces the loss of durability by 50%. So instead of losing 10 on basic synthesis or basic touch, you will lose 5 for the next 4 steps. And this is going to cost you 56 CP. Denervation is a buff to synthesis actions by 50%. So basically this will increase additive, not multiplicative by the way, by 50%. So if you do basic synthesis at 100 efficiency before the trait, Veneration will increase it by 50, giving you 150 potency when you're doing basic synthesis, or 170 if you have the buff to it. But this will last for 4 steps. So in conjunction with synthesis abilities, you can get yourself a stronger synthesis to get you closer to making an item. Now, Standard Touch here is at level 18, has a CP cost of 32, but combos off of Basic Touch, has basically the same efficiency, well, a little bit more than that. It's a 25 efficiency increase, but success rate is 100%. But if you do it as a combo, is a CP cost of 18 instead of 32. So you want to basically combo it with your basic synthesis, and they'll also have a third combo at a later time. Great strides will increase the efficiency of the next touch action by 100%. So basically, if you use it with basic touch, you're hitting basic touch at a 200% efficiency. And this will last for 3 steps. This is used in your ender for getting a massive amounts of quality for your rotation. Innovation increases efficiency touches actions by 50%. Again, that's additive, not multiplicative, for 4 steps. So you ultimately want to junction this with any touch ability. Now, Final Appraisal is a unique ability. It will not waste durability, and it will not count as a step. So any condition you have will not swap with Final Appraisal. It costs 1 CP, and it will keep your progress at 1 point away from completion if you are going to exceed the progress. So if you have like 100 progress left and the ability will do 101, Final Appraisal will stop it from completing and leaving with 1. This is the perfect way to stop yourself from completing an item to increase the quality if the ability would complete the item altogether. Okay, and this will last for 5 steps. Waste Not 2 is a buffed version of Waste Not 1, which costs you 98 CP, and this will last for 8 steps, and also will reduce the durability by half. Next is going to be your Ender, which is going to be God's Blessing. Increases quality. Inner Quiet is going to affect by it, which we'll get into a bit later. Inner Quiet will basically be spent 100% efficiency plus 20% for each count of your Inner Quiet stacks to a maximum of 300%, and has a 100% success rate. So if you go into traits, Inner Quiet is at level 11. This used to be an ability that you must trigger before doing your quality steps. Grants a stacks of Inner Quiet with each increase in quality up to a maximum of 10. Inner Quiet grants a 10% bonus to efficiency of touch actions for each stack. So basically, you have 10 stacks of Inner Quiet that you can go to, so that's going to give you a 100% boost. So that is going to be with God's Blessing. Combined with Great Strides and Innovation, you will get a whopping Ender to get that last bit of quality. This is what you would use for a rotation at the end, and then you would complete the item. At level 15, you get a trait called Practice Makes Perfect, where you're able to do trial synthesis, which I basically showed you earlier. At level 31, your basic synthesis will go up to 20% extra efficiency to 120. So these here are going to be from A Realm Reborn only. So keep that in mind. 53 to 60 is going to be Heaven's Ward. Unfortunately, there's only 2 abilities that we get in Heaven's Ward. And as for traits, you don't get anything until Stormblood. But from Precise Touch at level 53, it costs you 18 CP, must be good or excellent condition, and it gives you 2 stacks of Inner Quiet, with the durability loss of 1 ability. So it will be successful at 100% with a 150 success rate. You almost always want to use Precise Touch with a good or excellent. Muscle Memory. This can only be used at the beginning of a recipe. Increases progress by 300% with a 100% success rate. Efficiency of your next synthesis action will be increased by 100%. It can only be used at the first step, like I told you, and also the buff will last for 5 steps. So ultimately, you want to junction this with the strongest synthesis ability at the beginning of your rotation, and it costs you 6 CP. Next, at level 62, is going to be Careful Synthesis. This is a beefier version of Basic Synthesis, and it gives you 180 efficiency and 100% success rate, with a cost of 7 CP. Manipulation, which is only available after you do a class quest in Stormblood, is a little bit tricky. Restores 5 points of durability after each step for the next 8 steps, but it will not work if the item is going to break. That's the thing. Breaking the item negates the restoration of the 5 points of durability, because that doesn't come out until after the action is complete of the touch or of the synthesis ability. So keep that in mind. That's the one thing that is very tricky that most people probably won't know. So keep that in mind. And this is going to be a hefty 96 CP usage. Prudent Touch at level 66 is the 5 durability loss ability like I mentioned earlier. Increases quality for 100% efficiency but reduces the cost by half. So instead of 10, it's 5. But the catch is it cannot be used with Waste Not and Waste Not 2. If used on manipulation, you do not lose anything. So that's the tricky thing. So the Waste Not and Waste Not 2 makes it a little bit harder to deal with. Now, Focused Synthesis and Focused Touch is 76 and 78. These are going to combo off of Observe. Without it, they have a 50% chance of failure and a 200 potency if used with the Observe and 150 efficiency with Touch. Okay? And also, Prudent Touch takes away 25 CP. So these are the combo actions with Observe. Reflect at level 69, Giggity, is the opposite of Muscle Memory. This increases your inner quiet stacks by 2 instead of the basic 1. Has a 100% success rate or 100% efficiency. Most rotations will either use Muscle Memory or Reflect, and this will use 6 CP as well. So next at level 71 is called Prep Touch for short. Increases quality but at a greater cost of durability, which is going to give you 20 instead of 10. It gives you 2 stacks of inner quiet for the price of 1, but it costs you 40 CP to use. It has a 200 efficiency with a 100% success rate. This is used to get your quiet stacks up quickly. Alright, usually this is best done when you have a lot of CP. Groundwork is basically the opposite of Prep Touch. Basically, it does the same thing. It will take away 20 durability. The efficiency is increased to 360 with 100% success rate, but the efficiency decreases by half when durability is below 20. So if you're trying to do a last-ditch Hail Mary to get your 100% progress, this will be cut in half. So keep that in mind. At level 76, we get a handy ability called Delicate Synthesis, but a cost of 32 CP. Increases both progress and quality at 100% success rate and 100 efficiency. Check your calculations tab to see how much they will both do. Sometimes you probably will use this to complete an item, but also get you that last piece of quality to make something high quality. Intensive Synthesis, which is going to cost you 6 CP, is the opposite of Precise Touch. Increases progress by 400%, 100% success rate on any good or excellent, and it costs you 6 CP. Good time to use it is with Muscle Memory and of course the Veneration buff at the beginning of your rotation. Now Trained Eye is a unique ability at level 80. It costs 250 CP, but increases quality to 100% if you're 10 levels above an item that you're making. So if you're level 90, anything 80 and below can be 100% high quality with Trained Eye. And cannot be used on expert recipes as well, which is the really hard stuff. At level 84, you get Advanced Touch, which is the combination off of Basic and Standard Touch. Increases efficiency by 150 with 100% success rate and reduces the CP cost down to 18 from 46 if used inside the combo. Usually if you're doing recipes that require you to use Prudent Touch and sometimes Waste Not or Waste Not 2 is up, then you ultimately will swap out Prudent Touch and do Basic, Standard, and Advanced Touch in its place. That usually pertains to expert recipes though. Prudent Synthesis is the opposite of Prudent Touch, which is basically going to be used for the progress part. So it increases progress at half the durability cost, so basically 5, at 180% efficiency, at 100 success rate, but it cannot be used on Waste Not and Waste Not 2. Rarely the time we use this, so most of the time we won't, but hopefully it will be useful in the future patches. At level 90, we get Trained Finesse, which is a very unique ability that has no durability loss, but must be used at 10 stacks of Inner Quiet. It has 100 success and efficiency. Now, going into the specialist actions, you must use what is called a Soul Crystal, or Soul of the Crafter. This is something you unlock back in Heaven's Ward, and only 3 jobs can have it. As you can see here, here's the other two. You can swap at least 3 times per week, and it resets every Tuesday. So you get 2 new abilities with the special equipped. They had a crap ton of them, but unfortunately it didn't work out, so they basically removed a lot. So you have Careful Observation and Hardened Soul. You will need certain items called delineations, if I can find them. So here are the crafted delineations, which you will be getting with white scrips, which is the currency for doing collectibles for crafters in Heavensward and beyond. So each specialist action must require a delineation. So Careful Observation basically is like observe, but it only can be used 3 times per synthesis, and only can be used in order to get a certain type of condition, like good or excellent, on Biogath for your finisher, to make your finisher more powerful. Hardened Soul basically is going to do exactly what a good excellent does, which basically allows you to use precise, intensive, or tricks of the trade. Perfect if you're trying to get extra stack of Ender Quiet with precise touch. And that also will cost you a delineation. Hopefully they'll add more in the future. Now as for traits, which I forgot, at level 63, you get Quality Assurance, which increases the condition of becoming good. At level 63, you get Rapid Synthesis Mastery, which increases your efficiency to 500%. Careful Synthesis Mastery at level 82 increases Careful to 180 potency. And Ground Mastery, or Groundwork Mastery, increases to 360 efficiency for groundwork. And if I didn't mention it, Basic Synthesis is the same thing. Alright, so that's going to be for your traits, going from 63 to 86. Now let's go through the crafting process and show you guys how these abilities meld with each other. So when you're first doing your first move, you either want to do Muscle Memory or Reflect, depending on what you're doing. Majority of the time, you want to do Muscle Memory, but if you're doing something like farming, scripts for collectibles, and stuff like that, you ultimately want to do Reflect. But in this case, we're going to use Muscle Memory as an example. So using Muscle Memory, you're only going to be using it for a one-time thing for the next synthesis ability. So before you use that, we're going to apply our buffs. So Manipulation. So anything after Manipulation, like a buff, is going to give you your 5 stacks of durability back. So Waste Not 2 gives us 5, and Innovation gives us 5. And we end up on a good condition. So every time you use something, your condition can change. Alright, so on good condition, you'll have abilities that will light up, letting you know that these can be used. Now, usually you want to use Groundwork because that is the highest ability that we have for progress. But if you look at Intensive Synthesis, it will show you that it does more. So ultimately, you will do Intensive over Groundwork in most cases. Also pay attention that if the item is going to complete it and you're not ready to complete it yet, Final Appraisal will stop that. So it's very, very important to pay attention. In most cases, you always want to make sure that Veneration is up on Muscle Memory. Okay, so once your progress is all set and taken care of and you're one step away from that, it is time to work on your quality. That is where innovation comes into play. Always make sure that innovation is up before doing your quality steps. Okay? So like I said, the most important thing is try to get 10 stacks of Inner Quiet as fast as possible. So most of the time you're going to be using Prep Touch for that. Now, this takes away 20 durability, but because we have Waste Not 2, that's cut in half to 10, and Manipulation is up, so that is going to give us back 5. Remember, if the durability is at 20, Prep Touch will break the recipe and Manipulation will not save you. So each time you use Prep Touch, your Inner Quiet will go up by 2. So now that Manipulation has fallen off, Prep Touch will now take away 10 stacks of durability instead of 20. But in this case, we're going to reapply Innovation. Like I said, make sure that Innovation is always up before doing your touches. Now that your Inner Quiet stacks are at 10, then what you're going to be doing is what is called a finisher. So you're going to be doing Innovation. If Innovation is already up and you have enough steps on it to do 2 more, then you're just going to do Great Strides. and then Byrgat's Blessing. Paying attention to the calculations, we see that Byrgat is going to be hitting for 45.75 on normal condition. Your Quiet Sax falls off, and then you have to start over from the beginning. Now for your progress, depending on how much you have left, you either can do groundwork, careful, basic, or prudent synthesis, or sometimes delicate synthesis if you want to get a little bit more of your quality. In some cases, you're going to be using observe and focus synthesis, but that usually is in rare cases. And if you need a Hail Mary, rapid synthesis. So that is basically the thought process of crafting. So if you're doing something below, like I said, 10 levels below your own, then you can use Trained Eye, which also lights up. And it will increase your quality to 100%. As an example. Hopefully sometime in the future, they will do another one which does progress, so you can basically 2-button macro everything. That's, 10 levels below your own. So if you can't remember what certain abilities do the best advice that JoeCat gives us all. Read your tooltips. Alright, it's the most important thing. Always read your tooltips and try to remember what they do. The more you get used to them, the better you will be at crafting. So now let's talk about collectibles. This is something that is unlocked in Heaven's Ward. Basically, it's the same thing, but instead of increasing quality, you're increasing collectability. Now the difference between quality and collectability is that collectability has different thresholds. You have the minimal, which is blue, the middle, which is yellow, and the highest, which is a lime-ish green. The good thing with collectibles is you don't need the quality to be 100%. As long as you meet the minimal, you can pass that item in for scrips, which is the currency, or experience if you're leveling up. So in this case, if I go to a level that's a little bit lower than mine, and do Trained Eye, you will get max collectability, and then you can turn in your item for the max reward. This is best done for getting those currencies, because be using those currencies to get these master recipe books, going from, I think, Heaven's Ward on. In Realm Reborn, you're going to have to do very difficult crafts to get these books, but from Heaven's Ward on, you're going to be needing those white scripts in order to get these master recipe books, which you usually do at endgame. Let's talk about food buffs and also pots. So in Final Fantasy XIV, you have Alchemist that will make you pots, which can be used for control, craftsmanship, or CP. The blue is always CP, the red's always control, and the green is always craftsmanship. Craftsmanship drafts are never used, or the pots, so it's usually the control or CP. These will last for 15 minutes, and the recast timer is for 5, and it will share a recast timer with other medicines. Food, on the other hand, will last 30 minutes, and it can go up to an hour if used twice. Food also has an item level to it, which means that you only can use certain foods at certain levels as well. So if you're level, let's say level 1, and you try to use something that's, say, level 90 or 620 in this case, then the food will not work at full capacity. So you basically are wasting high-end food on basically a low level. So make sure that your food you're using is relative to the level that you're using it on. That's something that most people do not know. And you think you're cheesing the system, you're really not. The system is cheesing you. Next, let's talk about high quality materials. Now, when you're trying to make something that actually can be high quality, you want to start with high quality materials. Why? Because this will give you what is called starter quality. This means that your quality bar will start with the stats that you see here, which is 1038. Making hard to make recipes that much simpler and easier to do. This means that less steps you have to go through, less CP waste, and easier to make an item. Usually high quality stuff will sell faster on the market board, but sometimes most people will undercut normal quality with high quality, which drives me freaking crazy. So please don't do it. High quality should always be more expensive than normal quality. Now let's talk about difficulty spikes in endgame. So when you're doing endgame stuff, you have what is called star difficulty. You have 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, which is usually in the second recipe book under masters, and then we have 5 star, which is the most hardest thing to do, which is called expert recipes. So the more stars that are in the recipe, the harder it is to make and the higher the stats need to be. When you're doing star recipes, you need a special requirement of stats in order to do so. In this case, you need 3700 craftsmanship and 3280 control. Without it, you cannot make the item. So in the case of expert recipes, you need to get the quality to a certain threshold and also make the item, which makes expert recipes that much tougher to do. If your quality is not at the maximum that you need for the item, your item will break. Most of the time, these are extremely useless because they aren't as useful as you might think. But these are extremely difficult to do, and if you can do them, congratulations. But these are the different star difficulties on each of the recipes. So like I said, each expansion will have 2 books, and all the new stuff from each of the patches will be in these books as you go along. Now let's talk about tribal quests, custom deliveries, and again, collectibles. So if you're doing collectibles, level 90, which is the cap, is going to give you purple scripts, anything below that will give you white. Custom deliveries will also give you purple and white scripts, also gil and experience. There's about, I think, 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5. So we get 5 custom delivery clients, which is 3 per expansion. You start off at level 81 and then working their way up to 87 for the recent one. Everything else is going to be 1 to 85, 80 to 83, 71 to 77, so on and so forth. Alright. And the timer section is where you'll be able to see how far you're with them. You have to rank them up. And once you hit max, you get glamour and a reward. In this case, a mount. In this case, glamour, also a mount and head glamour as well. And you also can change what they look like in the end. So you can make them naked as far as you can, or you can make them look like an idiot. It's up to you. Down here, you have 12 allowances to do 12 tribe quests per day, and the roll usually will reset, I think, every morning at 6 o'clock, I think the reset is. And you'll find them here. So the Ixals, the Muggles, the Namazu, the Dwarfs, and the Loperids. So usually 1 crafter per expansion. So under the currency tab in main menu, you have your white, purple, and the discontinued ones from the previous expansion. They usually will give us a new one every time. So purple will be pushed down to discontinued, yellow will be removed completely. These are for people who stopped playing back then and still have these. And then you have your white, which will be pushed down to purple, and then we'll get your new one. These used to be 2,000 at the max, but they thankfully increased it to 4,000. So thanks Square Enix for that one. But that is going to pertain for custom deliveries, collectibles, and tribal quests. So now for some final tips, and also scrip gear I also want to cover. So scrip gear is basically the blue gear that you get with your scripts. Alright, these are predetermined stats and only have free slots available, so you can't overmeld. Usually you want to use these to catch up with. The fun fact is that you do not need crafted stuff for the next expansion. You actually can use scrip gear to get yourself from the last level, from the last expansion, all the way up to the maximum level of the next expansion without relying on crafted stuff, which is the biggest issue that I have with crafting nowadays. This only should be used for catching up. It really shouldn't be used to basically get used the next 10 levels. The problem is with Final Fantasy XIV, they don't make the leveling recipes harder. When you go to the next expansion, everything is basically reduced to make it a little bit easier for script users to catch up. Making majority of the crafting gear in between absolutely non-existent and not necessary, because you can just get your script gear and blow through level 80 to 90 or 90 to 100 without even touching anything in between, which is one of the biggest gripes I have with this. But if you want to catch up, the script set is the best set to use. But if you're using this, you're going to 100% need high quality materials if you're going to be doing endgame stuff. But if you're doing expert recipes, crafted stuff is almost 100% mandatory. So the last thing is a couple of miscellaneous topics. Crystals. Because the shards eventually get outdated, we'll be using crystals and clusters. The thing is, you will always run out of clusters and crystals if you are a constant crafter. Me, I basically hoarded all this, and I usually don't craft it very often nowadays, because most of the time I get all of my gil from other means. But you'll always be running out of crystals. Now the thing is, you can either get them through gathering, which is usually around level 30, or you can have your retainer get them, which you need to be at least the level for your retainer to get them as well. So you can get, at level 30, 120 crystals in 40 minutes. That's the cap. Okay, this is going to be level 30 range for your gatherers, and at level 1 you'll have your shards. Clusters must be gathered yourself, or through desynthesis, or what is called ethereal reduction, which is a whole new system altogether. So you're going to be running out a lot because, like I said, you're going to be using a lot of clusters, crystals, and sometimes there'll be 2 crystals for 1 recipe. The master recipes usually will have the clusters. Alright, you don't really need as many for those, but there's definitely going to be used for those. So you up to 3, and then expert requires 5. Usually you'll get these around level 50 in Mordona, or any unspoiled legendary nodes will also have those clusters for you. For leveling purposes, I highly recommend doing your custom or your Grand Company turn-ins. If they are starred, you're going to be getting 4 times the amount, and if they're high quality, it's 2 times the amount of experience. If they're both, you can go like 3 to 4, maybe 5 levels if you're leveling up. And as for levequests, these are specific commissions that you can do at the levequest givers in the city-states. As of right now, it's Old Shoreline at the harbor for this, which I made a video about on how to do the levequest to make a crap ton of kill. You get 6 per day, and you only can hold 100, which you'll see under the journal section under timers, which you can see at the bottom there. And you only can hold 16 levequests at a time. And there is a section under your journal for each levequest that you can do. Alright, so you have level 1 all the way up to level 86. So that is pretty much going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you're new for more Final Fantasy XIV content, and join the First Brood. If you guys want to join my Discord server where you guys can ask me questions, the link will be in the description down below. And if you guys want to support my channel monetarily and want to support my channel, I do have YouTube memberships available, and a link to my Patreon also in the description down below. So until next time, may you forever walk in the glorious light of our Bahamut, and always remember to keep forging ahead. And remember, any questions you have, dumb or not, I'll be happy to answer them. Take care, guys.